We all know washing our hands helps stop the spread of coronavirus. But did you know many of us don't wash our hands the right way? Doing it right is simple and effective, and it only takes 20 seconds. Here's how. Put your hands under clean running water and soap up, create a lather, and then wash up, all the way up to your elbows. Scrub the backs of your hands, between your fingers, under your fingernails for a full 20 seconds. That's singing the happy birthday song out loud, twice. Then rinse your hands thoroughly. Dry them, not with a towel, but paper towels or an automatic air dryer. Use a towel to turn off the water. And if you don't have access to soap and water, use a hand sanitizer made of at least 60% alcohol. Cover all areas of your hand and rub together until dry. Lastly, do not touch your eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands. Be safe, be smart, and do your part. Wash your hands a lot. Text COVID to 692692 for real-time updates, or visit nyc.gov/coronavirus.
Are you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. My apologies. My apologies. Okay. We're back. My guest is in the lobby shaking her head. Y'all were reading my lips? Well, it's good to know that y'all know how to read lips. It's awesome to know that y'all know how to read lips. I have some hardcore fans. Thank you very much, guys. Aurelie and Beverly and all the rest of the crew locked in. Princess Nistati, Zarina, bonsoir, good morning, good night. It's morning somewhere in the world. It's evening. It's 6:07 p.m. in the nature island of the world, Dominica. And I have an awesome guest here with you. I want to say big up to the folks out there on Digicel, locked in on the Digicel platform in over 30 countries around the world. Big up to you guys if you're tuned in. Thank you so very much for tuning in and for locking on via the Play Go app or wherever you choose to view this show. We have folks on Facebook, we have folks on YouTube, and I'm so glad to have you guys here with me for another Cacoa tea. Okay, Angie. Okay, I get it, Angie. My bad. You have your name as Princess. You don't know to call you Princess. Okay, teacher Angie. Yes, they're coming through. Drop your flag. Let me know where you're locked in from. I appreciate all of the love, and thank you very much to all those of you who've tuned in to the show. It is going to be a great show. I have an amazing individual on with me. She's someone I look up to tremendously. She is a hell of a woman, let me tell you. And she's going to be coming on. I think this is the perfect time to have her on. This was a long time overdue. But she's here. She's been on other shows with me. If you follow me every single where that I go. But today it's about her story, and I'm so excited to have her on with me. I mean, she comes from a lovely family. I know her sisters. As a matter of fact, I call one of her sisters mommy. And because people used to tell me when I had my bald head that I looked like her. And she has another lovely sister out in that's Natalie. I mean I know all them all. So I am just so happy to and she has another one too at Gentoress. Oh my god, like I can't keep up with them. We're gonna be talking to her a little bit. She has like a lot. Yes, she is indeed a boss lady. Shed alive. I don't think I have to tell you that, right? Like we don't need to do this drill, right? I mean the regulars, the top fans on there. Let's see you share the live to the top fans, because we got to bring those people in. And if you don't like to share live, but you like to tag 10 friends and make sure you invite them on the show. I think every single woman and man can benefit from this show today. I have been looking forward. I mean, I've gotten so many bites of her life at different points in time, and it'll just be good to put everything in one on Cacoa Tea. Everything in one on Cacoa Tea. And I'm excited to have her on. I met her back when I worked. The first time I met her was actually when I worked at Q95. And I remember she came on radio and she was promoting her Phenomenal Caribbean Woman Symposium. And she was like, so I just want to invite everyone to come to the show and make sure you register. And she had so much energy. So I was like, who is this lady on there? And then when she came downstairs, I remember, she coming to the office, introducing herself. It was the first time I was meeting her. She probably doesn't even remember that. And she was so warm, so sweet, and so positive, like, if you've ever ran into Dr. Valda Henry and she's not been smiling, I mean, that would be the day. That'll be the end of the world. But anytime you run into her, she likes to be called Valda Henry, but she has the DR and she went to school for that ish. So we got to give her a big ups, right? She put in the work, right? When you put in the work, you have to definitely acknowledge Dr. Valda Henry is going to, she's the incoming first female deputy governor for the Eastern Caribbean Central Yeah, that is a kind of big titles. Out of Dominica, I mean, so many awesome things come out of Dominica. I say things, but people come out of Dominica. And when I tell you we underestimate our people, what they say, a man is never appreciated in his own homeland, or there's a saying, but we underestimate our people so much. And we need to give recognition, we need to acknowledge our people because when they're gone, they're gone. And listen, when they're gone, when they have to come back, they have to put on those big dollars. Yeah, where she going? So you know now when you have to go to youth series, or you have to go to men's symposium, or you have to go to wealth symposium, all of that she had. You know you gotta put on those big guns now because I suspect the next one, probably in a year or so, will be like $1,000 to enter because it's celebrity stuff, right? So I am so excited to have her on. I'll you tag everybody, I'll you share the live to have her on with me this evening. And without wasting any time, I see folks from ECCB are logging on. ECCB folks are logging on. Oh my God, they get the news. The story is out. Right? Big up to the ECCB crew. I actually got like DMs. The ECCB crew out in St. Kitts that's locked in. Big up to you. You're going to get a new boss lady. And let me tell y'all, you're getting a specimen. I tell you, specimen. Like that's not good jeans. That's good dress pants. Right? And we're gonna welcome Dr. Valda Henry. First time on Cacoa. What's up, Dr. Valda Henry?
I am wonderful, Jael. I'm wonderful. How are you doing? I am wonderful. I've heard you for your wonderful introductions, and I am great this Saturday afternoon. Well, it's not almost
so
evening.
To have you here. So happy. You're looking nice and bright and orange, boy. You're looking at pink pilling according to
my buttercup.
Buttercup, right? Oh yes. You look at pink pilling.
My son was saying to me, but mommy, what is it? It's a special thing you're going, man. I find you well dressing up there tonight. What is happening?
Your son is an official. Like he's an official. Like you cannot just come in regular gabs.
You turn it down. He doesn't want me to be dressed up too much. He don't want people to see me. He says, you have to tone it down.
We are definitely celebrating you this evening. I am so happy. People are coming on. Gordon Luke is saying, congrats, Dr. Henry. Amanda Scotland, we should celebrate her. She did
so well. I worked so well with Amanda series when she was at NBD. Fantastic human person.
So many people are coming on and they're bigging you up. Make sure y'all share the live once y'all come in. We're gonna get right into it. Like I don't even want to waste time, and I want to encourage y'all. If you have questions, start thinking of your questions, start putting them aside, so that when I tell you to ask your questions, you can just shoot, so we can get this show on the road. Because let me tell you, I'm gonna warn you in advance. I have La Power, and I know Dr. Henry have La Power. So before you know it, they're always going to be up. And I want to make sure that we get every single person, on the live tonight. We want to get anyone who wants to interact. We want to make sure that we are able to interact with you. I want to start off like I do every single show by letting my guest, Dr. Henry, introduce herself and tell us, who are you? Who is Dr. Valda Henry?
Well, I always say I'm a simple, I used to say before, I used to say a simple little girl, but no, I guess I'm no longer a little girl. So I'm a simple person from the village of Maho. I'm the daughter of Elkin and Ilma Henry. I have many siblings, so I grew up in a very big home, a home full of love and laughter and joy. My mom died when I was 6, but I always said my family and even the neighborhoods, my aunts, Auntie Voni, my uncle Asinol, and the rest of the village, they kind of just surrounded us with so much love that we didn't feel the loss so much. So even when we reflect on our childhood, there is more happiness than there's sadness, though there was sadness. I always say I use the eagle as one of my symbols. I see my main symbol as a rainbow, giving it's bright and beautiful, but at the same time giving hope, but also the eagle, because when I was leaving the Dominica Community High School to go and pursue, that's what I taught, to pursue my first degree, I still have that plaque my students gave me. You cannot hope to soar with the eagles if you work with turkeys. And yeah, and I still have that little wooden plaque. It's right now on the top of my bookcase in my home. And I remember when I had to do my master's, and everywhere I go, I walk with it. One of my friends from Bulgaria, Miglena, first when she came to my room and she saw that, she said, "What are you saying?" I said, "No, that's what my students gave me, and I've always walked with it. It's like an inspiration to just continue to soar, to look, to cannot be your best, because what the eagle does, it soars above the storm, and it survives the storm. So yes, it faces the storm, but it soars above the storm. And I think I've soared over quite a bit of storms. So yeah, that is it. And Dolly Parton has a song that I really like about an eagle, a sparrow when she's broken, and an eagle when she flies. And yeah, I kind of that song connected with me since I was a child. And yeah, that's it. Just me. I'm a mother of my little one, Obasi Kenrick Elkin Henry, and the surrogate I say of Mitchell. So yes, a mother.
Wow. Dr. Henry, I'm going to call you Dr. Henry throughout the show. Right? I mean, we refer to you sometimes when I talk to you as well, but I want to say I'm giving you your accolades. I'm putting it on there, Dr. Henry. The folks at Fresh Market they're locked in as well. They want to
Market crew, good night.
The folks at Fresh Market locked in. We have some exciting news coming up from Fresh Market, but you'll get that in a later announcement. But you are the first female. Well, you're the third deputy governor and the first female. What does that mean to you to be a deputy governor?
Well, as I said, even in the interview when they asked, I said I see my role as a deputy governor as providing support to the governor in the furtherance of his vision and that of the bank, working together with the staff to make it happen. So our job and my job is to kind of marshal the troops to ensure that the governor's vision and that of the bank gets achieved. I think ultimately that's what it is. But if you look at the job description, the deputy governor is to give leadership to several departments. So the bank has many departments, and the governor has some of the departments under his care, and the deputy governor has some of his departments. But my role is really to just support, to provide that support, to provide, as I like to say too, is I also like a bouncing place where you can share ideas and we have to work together, because I foresee, a very solid, healthy working relationship in tune. That doesn't mean we won't have different views on certain matters, but ultimately we have to be on the same path to where it is the bank is heading. And one of the roles that our key roles is to really ensure that the stability of the financial sector, they maintain the stability of the EC dollar, and in so doing, and I love how the governor says it, and our job really is to propel, to advance, and to transform the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union.
Wow. Let me tell you, like you are hashtag goals, like hashtag goals, and you've come a long way. And I wanna congratulate you first of all on your position, but I want to take us back to your childhood days. You speak a little bit about, in your introduction about your siblings and your mom passing away when you were young. And I really want to talk about your childhood, your fondest childhood memories. Can you share with us some of the childhood memories that are dear to you, that resonate with you?
I think one of the memories that I have, and it's of my mom. My mom died when I was young, and so I don't have big memories, but I have a few memories, and all the memories of my mother are really, strong memories. And one of the memories, I think I've shared that already, I have of my mom. I remember once three things I may be able to free relating to my mom. We had a shop, at least it's called the Sign of the Cane Straw. And when you think of it, it may have been one of the first department stores in Dominica, because it sold everything, including next to it, we had a bakery. And we had this green fridge. I can still see that green GE fridge. And I wanted a soft drink. I remember that so well, a little red juicy. And my mom had said no, but she was in the shop serving. And so I decided, I was about 3 at the time, that I was going to get myself that soft drink. And so I went to get that soft drink, but that fridge had a shock. So it kind of held on to me, And I could maybe have died, think of it. And my mother came to my rescue. I remember maybe I was about 5, and I was going somewhere, and then a bicycle. I won't call his name, but I still remember who jammed me on that bicycle. And it took me and it just pitched me into the yard of one of our neighbors who lived like 2 houses down. And then they had to call my mother, and then she came running, and to carry me home, and to dress my cuts and my bruises.
Wow.
And then my other memory was when I was about to gain 4, and I was in preschool. I remember that like it was yesterday. And even if I would forget it, my family have repeated it so many times that I can't. And I don't know, I just got one afternoon, I went back to school, and I was just I sat down there, and I was like, I'm fed up of this one to buckle my shoe, 3, 4, shut the door. I could read already. I'm going over the same thing. I was just like tired. And so I said to the teacher Joseph, that, I wasn't feeling well, and that wasn't the truth at all. And I need to go back home. And so she called someone, and they brought me back home. And when I got home, I told my mother, that's not true. No, I'm very well. I just tired. I want to go to big school. They used to call primary school in those days big school. And everybody was at big school except me. And my mother said, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, let us go to the school and ask them if they would take me to big school. I want to go to big school. And I remember my mother saying this to me. She said, well, Father, how can I do that? Because we must pass Teacher Joseph to get to big school.
Mm-hmm.
I said to my mother, that's very easy. We will stop into the school. I will tell Teacher Joseph that I told a lie, and I will apologize, say I'm sorry. And I will also make her a promise that I will come to visit her every day from my way from school. I will stop to say hello every day until I leave primary school. And my mother was still hesitant, but I was not having any of it. So eventually we went. And then when we got to the Mao Government School, at the time, Mrs. Deloney, that's why Mrs. Deloney was a special place in my heart, Celia Deloney's mom. She was the principal at the time. And when we went, she said, no space. And I said, how do you mean no space? And my mother is trying to say, well, Valda, you see? And I'm like, no. So I said, what do you mean no space? I said, but mother, that's not a problem. I have my own chair and my desk, which is true. My father had made for me at Teacher Joseph. So we will just go back down. We will get it and we'll put it somewhere in the classroom. And that's exactly what happened. We went down to get the desk and the chair, and voila. I went to primary school. I think first they put me in, I think it was standard 1 and standard 2. I was put placed in standard 2. And yeah, that's it.
You have the crowd laughing. Like everybody is falling, rolling on the floor laughing because it's a funny story. So you made sure you got to big school at age 4.
Yeah, I did. And I think I have had that. Eliud, my brother-in-law, His Excellency, he always says that about he calls me Queen Valda, And he's like, like when I make up my mind about something, I almost always pursue it to the end. I give up only when I have explored every avenue, and then I determine to myself that's not what the Lord's will, and then I let it go. But I will pursue something. Same way when I got to high school, the teachers, nuns were saying I was too young and let me stay for another year. I was 9 at the time, and I was like, no, I'm going, I'm passed, because everybody thought I'd get a scholarship, and I got a pass. So that was like a shock in the village. It was a shock in the school. The principal wanted to call the Ministry of Education to ask for a remark of my papers, and I'm like, that's not necessary. I couldn't see the big deal in that, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I was concerned, I had passed, and I was going to high school. And the nuns were like, I was young, let me stay for another time, because I had how many chances, and I was having absolutely none of it. And voila, I ended up going to convent high school. Yeah. My father even came one time and said, okay, because they kept saying no. My father go to grammar school. My sister, Catherine and Joseph, my 2 sisters already were at grammar school, told my sisters. I was like, I will meet them at the crossroad. I always said I was going to convent. Grammar school was never part of my little plan, and I'm not going to go now. and yeah.
You always talk about your sisters.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the relationship, the bond between you and your sisters.
Well, I think our bond is really tight. And I talk about my sisters, but also my brothers. My father had many of us, but my mother had 11 of us, and I'm the last of the 11. And so we call it the younger sisters, because we were like the older ones. Like my first one is a sister. My mother's first child is my sister Connie. Well, my first one is Julie, but Julie passed. So Connie, after Connie is my brother Mayor, then my sister Cleopatra, oh no, Cleopatra, then Mayo, then Clement, then Edgar. So there were 2 girls. Then there were 3 boys. And then there's the last 4 of us now. You know, 3 of my siblings on my mother's side died. Nora died when I was a baby, so I don't remember Nora at all. I just had no stories of Nora. My brother Julie died when I was 5, the year before my mom. I remember that like it was yesterday. We had gone back to school in the afternoon, and then they called to say we need to go back down because my brother Julie had died because he had gone to take a rest after he had his lunch, and my mother had to wake him up. And when they went to wake him up, he wouldn't get up. And I remember when we got there, they were asking us to jump over his body so we could get his bravery. And I was like, I'm not doing this. So I did not jump. I said, nope, nope, nope. I don't need nobody bravery. I am not doing this. So I did not jump over that dead body.
I mean, it's not even funny. It's not even funny, but the way you're saying it.
Yeah, and then that's me. That's my brother Julian. And then my brother Clement died in 1987. I was at UE. I was in my 2nd year when he died in an accident. And so that's us. So we have the older sisters who like our parents, like our mother, because they kind of just Connie and Cleo just kind of took over the role of our mother, and so they cared for us as that, and when you think of it as you get older, you realize the sacrifices they made. But as we always speak among ourselves, the sacrifices they made without complaining. I mean, Connie came back in 1975, the same year I was going to university, to high school, and young and bright, still in her 20s. But then she took on the responsibility of all her mother's children, the rest of us, And when you think now of it, you say, my God. And then so whenever I talk about that story, I always have to talk about His Excellency Louis Williams, because at the time, they were not yet married, but they were, going out, boyfriend and girlfriend. And even while she was studying, he and Julius, I remember him. Julius, what is Julius' name? I don't remember. Julius used to go out with my sister Cleopatra, but they broke up many moons ago. But that didn't stop Julius and Eliud, who every holiday would come to get us to take us to the picnics and so forth. Eliud was a cooperative officer, and I told people I got to know a lot of Dominica because whenever he went to do his little cooperative work, off along, they went. And then even after they got married, there was a point, all 4 of the younger sisters, Afinia, who is the eldest of the last 4, Josephine, who is the one at Gentry, who owns Gentry Funeral Services, my sister Catherine, who's in the US, and I. There was a time all 4 of us lived with them in the early years of marriage. And when you think of that, and yet there was no time where we felt that we were burdens. And that is something for me. In fact, when we speak about it, I treasure always that. And then, so that's my oldest. And my brothers, when my mother died, my Connie was still away studying, and my sister Cleo left that year. She didn't want to go, but my father insisted she had to go. And my aunts, my father's sisters, and nurse, who was a nurse, and we called her nurse, and Auntie May, that is Roy Shillingford's mom, Auntie May, they lived in Massac next to each other, and so they took us. So 3 of us went to Auntie Nurse, who had no children of her own, and Josephine went to Auntie May. And because they felt, my mother, my father, and they left the boys with my father, the 3 boys with my father. And then, but my brother Edgar came back for us, maybe. My mother died in May. When school was opening, we went up to Massac, maybe around the October, November, and they came back and he said, no, they didn't want us separated and they would take care of us and they would be good brothers, and they did. And so we went back to live in Maho with all of us, with my father. And then along that way, we had very good people who took care of us. And one of the persons was Shirley, who was going out with my father at the time, but Shirley took very good care of us. And, to this day, we have a very tight relationship with Shirley. We call her Mama and things like that. So, and then again, I cannot talk about my childhood without my mother's siblings who lived in Maho. Auntie Foni, Uncle Asinol, Uncle Toom, these 3. And there was Uncle Gudo, but Uncle Gudo was a little kind of very close. It's only in his older years that he would like mingle and talk. But those 3, I mean, I always said they didn't have much to give, but the love that they gave. Uncle Gudo, Toom was a fisherman, so there's no way Uncle Toom came out from that sea without bringing fish. Auntie Vona used to work for Mr. Green, and when she come down, whatever was in season, whether it was mangoes, it was pears, it was this, it was that, and they surrounded us, they and their children. So my cousins, we are still so close to my cousins, Daniel and Tiglo and so on, even if for all the vagaries of life, these these remain. I can never forget that love. I tell you, as a child, we used to go to the Belfast River, to bathe and hang out, and there used to be all these salmons. Sure, I don't pong salmons anymore.
No, they don't know life. They don't know life.
And my cousins, especially Daniel, would never want me to pong it because they didn't want me to stain my clothes or pong my hands. So they would put me on a little stone to sit. And they would pong these bottles of salmon to give to me. And I remember once I was like, we wanted to be part of Daniel. Come, what are you doing? And I go back to sit on that stone. Yeah, so they treated, and yeah, so I was really treated with a lot of love. And
you were a princess.
Yeah. It's really special, to be quite honest. And I had my own little helper, I used to call her Nina, Elzina, from Maho. Elzina used to be my, and Rose passed away. Elzina and Rose, So.
You had such a wonderful childhood, and it's always so refreshing to see, or to hear your story, especially when you talk about your siblings, because as you know, I'm very close with my siblings as well. So obviously, whenever I see people who, and that's not something you find very, very often in a lot of people. People tend to go, especially after death, you find people fighting, they arguing for this, they quarreling for that, and they split up, they go separate ways. Who vex boss, who didn't boss lost, and people get very, very agitated with each other, and it's so wonderful. I mean, even to see the camaraderie between you and your siblings, I've witnessed it. I've witnessed, especially you, Athenia, and I've seen you guys together, and the way you guys interact, the way you guys behave. There's so much love, amongst you, and I just really want to commend you guys on how tight and how loving you guys are with each other, because that is so important, because it definitely helps you to become the kind of person that you need to be when you have that strong family backbone.
And it's not just my mother's siblings. I talk first of them, but my father, as I said, had lots of other children. But we all grew up also very close, very tight, because my father always said he didn't have half children. So we don't talk about my half brother and my half sister, it's just my sister. So you talk about Nafali Sampson at thing, that's my sister. And so my father had about 4 or 5 children with Nafali's mother. And so Lean and I are the same age. I'm just a few months older. And so Lean and Nafal and Clara and Cabo and Clara and 6 and Afo, so that is 6. And then there is 4 with Shirley, that is Eddie, Harvey, who's at Dominic. Eddie used to be at NEO, but now he's in St. Lucia. Yolanda, who lives in the States, and Earl, who passed away. And there's Paula from Warner, my sister. Her husband just passed a few months ago.
I ran into Natalie a few days ago because we were social distancing. So I was at the supermarket and we were distant from each other. And I stopped to pick up something, and she said to me from a distance, "Take off the mask for me to make sure you're still pretty."
That's wonderful. I mean, that side of our family, these are the jokers, the comedians, they just, oh my God. And then there's my brothers, Kendall and Francis. Kendall is Carla's, remember, some people remember Carla Henry, who went up for Queen a few years ago, 2017, I think it was. That's her father. So, and we are close, we remain close. I mean, every year we do family lunch together. Christmas, we used to do a summer picnic, Christmas lunch, and we used to do New Year's lunch. Now we've moved New Year's to a picnic, but I mean, all of this COVID.
I was about to tell you, with all of this that's going on now, that was
our events, and but we do at least 4 family gatherings with everybody across the board every year, and that has also been what has maintained, I guess, our bond with each other.
I'm going to get a little Bethy, just a little Bethy, because we're talking about family, right? Talking about family, you have never been married, and people would probably be surprised to know that you've never been married. So why did you choose this path, Dr. Henry?
I have never been married. Should I say, I know that I have not been asked to be married, but I've never been married. I remember very early, as a little boyfriend of mine, and he wanted to marry, and I was like, no. And then my real boyfriend, Brent, he's passed now. We met at Kville, and Brent, the first thing Brent wanted to do was to get married. And I said, but Brent, we are still studying. That makes no sense. So we need to wait. I think my sister Cleo always said, she thought, we were like too much, she felt because, we didn't have the like frivolity of youth, and because maybe our mom died so early and so on. And I was like, no, that makes no sense. We are still students. We have to finish, get graduate. Let's work for a year or 2 years, save ourselves some money, and then we can do that. However, before all of that grand thing could have happened, Brent found another person along the way, and that didn't come to pass. Though I will say to you, he always teased me. And in fact, just a few weeks before he died, he said, you just would not marry me. And he did ask me to marry, even subsequently to that. Because we broke up and then we kind of reconnected, and I just couldn't let that go of what happened. So we just didn't go nowhere with that. And so, no, it just never came to pass. And just before he died, a few years in Dominica, and he come. I said, so when are we getting married? I said, boy, stop taking me for your wheezy, And yeah, then he passed. And that was interesting because I cried so much in the sense that, and I don't know if it was regret or but that day, because I kept saying I had to call him about some matter. And I kept saying I'll do it tomorrow. And even Martha, who said to me the night before he died, and I said to her that night before he died, I said, Martha, if you see tomorrow by midday, I have not called Brent, you need to call him and connect me. So she said, so why don't you just call him as you're going home? I said, no, because that night we were having our 7th anniversary lecture of VFing at the Fort Young. We were having this lecture. We did it as a lecture, and Sybil surname from St. Kitts did it. So I said, I have about less than half an hour to go home to be able to change to run back to be on time. And me, if I start talking, I will not get finished. And I said, I'll do it the next day. And then the next day, for the first time, I've always been they have been harassing me to go on Facebook, and I've never been. But I got up that morning and see me on Facebook talking, writing about how successful this was and so forth. And then when I look at it, myself, I call Brent. I said, Brent, is that? He said, Jim, no. I'll call him a little later. It was Stephanie Harris who called me, my friend, and she's talking. But I didn't give Stephanie a chance, and I'm babbling along about how excited this was. And then after I guess she couldn't take it. She interjected. She says, so Valda, you don't know. And I was like, no, what? She says, you don't know. So I said, well, okay, what is it? I don't know. I said, what happened? Somebody of my family, Dominica, died, and you're calling to tell me? And she's like, no, but you really don't. I said, okay, we've established. I don't know. What is it? I don't know, Stephanie. And then she said, Brent. And I said, what happened to Brent? She says, well, they said he died. I said, what? She says, no, maybe maybe it's not the truth. So I said, okay, Stephanie, hang up that phone. So I hung up from Stephanie, and I called his boss. I called his number, didn't get an answer, so I called his boss. And the man answered the phone crying. So at that point, I knew it was true. And then he said, yes, because he was the one who put his, and I was like, wow, so that was that. And then, I was asked a second time, and I was like, no, not right.
Why you kept saying no? Because some people might say, because you've been, like, we've always known you, at least those of us who know you, we've always known you to be a go-getter, a career-driven woman. Would you say that it's possibly because you were so focused on your career that you never bothered to pursue that side of life? Or was it just, it is what it is?
No, I don't think so, because I'm a homemaker. If all of the career, I'm a very homebody person. I tell you, people, you don't really hear me or see me out. I go home, I go to work, I come back, go to church. My main outing is carnival season with mass camp, and after that, nobody sees or hears me on a social scene. I'm a homemaker. I love to cook. I'm a homemaker. I think it just never happened. It just wasn't, I think, the right time. And I just think that because as a child, always I felt I would not get married. I always kind of had that I kind of had that sense I would not be married. And I was good with that. I had reconciled myself to not being married and then there was a point I had said, oh gosh, I'd be a nun, but it's again a little twist, a nun, but I was like, nah, I think I don't want to be married. That was when I was much younger. And then after a while, I don't know, as I grew older, I don't know why, I had this sense that I would not be married. And then that is why, but I always had this dream that I was a mother, I had a child, but I could never see a father. So my sister Catherine used to always laugh, and she used to say, so now tell me how that's going to happen. And that's why, and although when it happened, I didn't see it then, but it was only after reflecting that I saw that Nathan is the child of my dreams. The dream that I had of being a mother, and it was always a son, but I could see no father in the picture. And I also asked myself, how could there be no father? And so when I had Brent, I was trying to patch Brent and I with a child, and it just would never come together, you know. And then I had another little boyfriend after Brent. I'm not going to call his name. And again, that patching just would not work either, you know. And even how Nathan came to be is so strange.
I was about to ask you about that. Tell us about that. Give us the tea. Give us the tea.
In the sense that I was out, I had gone to a conference, the CFA conference. It was in Boston that year. And I went into a store. I love shoes, I love bags and stuff like that. Well, no, I don't think, since Nathan came along, I don't purchase these things as much anymore, you know. And I had gone into Elizabeth Taylor, something like that. Taylor. I love those nice for shoes, you know. And I bumped into a cousin of mine who I hadn't seen in a long time, Donna King. It was her birthday, and her husband had taken her out to lunch, and then she was just browsing. And then so she went with me. We took me downtown to more stores, and we were in one of the stores, and I was in high heaven with shoes and bags, and I have a trolley full of these things. And then I get a phone call, and it's Ava McIntyre, now deceased. May she continue to rest in peace.
Yeah.
And Ava says, Valda, if you're going to have a child, what would it be? And I said, well, what question is this? She said, no, just answer the question. If you were going to have a child, what would it be? I said, I don't know anything the Lord gives me, but I always said that if I had to have children, I'd like my first child to be a boy, a son, because somewhere I've read that, a mother's womb is blessed if she has a son. So if I had to have any children, I would love my first child to be a son. She said, well, great, it's a son, a boy it is. I said, what are you talking about? She said, yeah. Just this afternoon, they got a baby. And she was wondering who she would call. And then she had to drop something to her brother, Dr. McIntyre, who at the time lived opposite my sister, Connie. And when she got there, she said, but wait, now, Valda. So she asked my sister Connie, and Connie said, but Valda isn't there. No, she said, that doesn't matter. Give me the number. And so she called. And she said, he's about 8 months, 9 months. And then that's all she said. And then I stopped and I said, I left the trolley where it was and I headed now to the baby section, children. And I was like, I'm not sure if it's a big 9 months, a small 9 months, an average 9 months. So I just started buying baby stuff.
Shopping.
Yes, for big size, small size, average size, and so forth. And then when I said, but I don't know his name. And I was at this hotel, oh God, what's the name? Mayflower. And they had this book, their mascot was Kit the dog, and they had all these books that this dog supposedly wrote. And so I said, oh, I'm going to get one for Nathan. I want it autographed. And when he gets older, I'm going to take him back to this place. And I was like, so when I got there, I was like, I don't have his name. I don't know his name. And then she said, I called her back, and she said, I think it's Kenrick, but hold on, let me call you back. And then she called back and said, Kenrick. So so that's the only thing autographed, Nathan's autograph, Kenrick.
Oh.
And then when I came down now, I went down now to go and see this baby and so on. I called Eva, and I'm from the airport, I get straight to the hospital. And then she says, no, Valda, you can't. I said, what do you mean I can't? She said, because you that's a process. You have to go to court, this, that. Yes. And so I went, and at the time, I had to pretend that I came to see another child, just to scope, because I could no longer just go and ask for this child, which is what I thought I was going to do. And when I did, and when I went there, I saw him, and it's like a self-assured child. He had a little cast in his foot, in one of his legs. I don't remember which one right now. And he was nursing, but he was there like in his own happy world, But I noted that his dressing table was quite bare. So I asked her, if I could go. So I gone to the car, and I'm coming back in bags. I've said, no, tell me where you're going with that. That a person who just happens to have all those things in that. Just go back and fix that. So instead I came now with a little teddy bear, which he still has, a teddy bear, and toiletries and things like that. And then afterwards, maybe a week or so later, we went to court, and that was it. And then Nathan,
God, it's so wonderful. People are commenting. I just want to put up some of the comments. Amanda is saying she tells her story with such humor. It keeps you glued to it. Yeah, we all crazy glued. We all crazy glued. Eddie's trying to bring some humor into it. Edward is saying, if you see you call my name is me and you.
oh,
When you
please, Edward. Eddie, let me give you the joke. If this Eddie, yes, I'm calling his name. So Eddie's always, everybody know Eddie. Everybody's Eddie's girlfriend, okay?
Mm-hmm.
One
My family, yeah, so watch what you're saying.
Creole something. We going out, Avni has a bar, we go on, and then he comes to like hug me and kiss me about his thing. And Nathan is like, what was that? What's that? So Nathan is like, get away. So he said, oh, I'm my son. He said, no, I'm not your son. And no, she's not your girlfriend, she's not your wife, she's not any such thing. So Eddie's thing, and my child was dead serious. He was having none of this.
So there's a running joke that Eddie is your other boyfriend that
Yes. Yes.
we have some more. Tracy said, I love Valda Henry.
Yes, I know Trace from now.
Luan, who I'm sure you probably
one spoke at our
your wealth, the wealth.
Yeah, and she was excellent. She was excellent. She was
excellent. Story.
Yes.
So lessons. Lots of folks are coming on, and we're continuing to speak here with Dr. Valda Henry, who is she's the incoming deputy governor for the ECCB, and we're so excited to have her here with us. I want to talk a little bit about your schooling, your school days, especially how you managed to go from your bachelor's to your master's to your PhD. What was your process like, or what was the process like for you? Because for Caribbean students, a lot of times we depend on scholarships, or we depend on our parents going for loans, and then even when you get to your bachelor's, you have to work extremely hard so you can get that scholarship for that master's, and work extremely hard if you're going to go any further. What was that like for you?
Well, deep down, I always knew I was going to have a PhD. I just knew that. There's a story, my sister Connie would repeat it often, that when she was studying, I was about 5 or 6, I had written, and she had that letter for many years. And after she graduated, I had written her letter to tell I was studying my work so serious so I could get to university like her, to be to university. But you see, we raised up in a house where education was valued. So my father always said to us, and at the time he had a little wealth, and it's a good thing, he said that. He used to say to us, whatever he has belongs to him. He could do whatever he wanted with it. He could give it away, he could throw it, and he wanted nobody going fighting over what is his own, because it is his. The only thing he was going to give us was an education. And with that, we could do anything, go anywhere, and be anything we wanted. And also said that, my father, I always said to me, that's the most brilliant person I know in my whole life. He had gotten a scholarship to go to Cambridge at this time, but at the time, your family had to pay your way to England, and then when you got there, you got the scholarship. And his family could not afford, and so that's how he never went. And I think that is why I think my father valued education so much. But my father was very learned. So although he never got to university, my father was one of the most learned persons I know, one of the best orators, or the best orator ever. I mean, a lot of people will talk to you, tell you old stories. People say I remind them of my father, but I'm not half as good as my father was. And so we grew up in a house where we grew up with books. So even my nieces will tell you. And one time, Anya, my niece, had said to me, Auntie, there are gifts other than books that you can give to children. Because whether it was Christmas, birthdays, whatever it is, a gift was a book, all kinds of books, And because we had all kinds of books. We actually even ran a library from our home for the village in Maro. And we had all sorts of games and board games and so on. So I went to, as I said, Maro School, Convent High School, and I went to sixth form. 2 of the best years of my life. Continues to be that. And then I got a part scholarship for UWI, to go to UWI, 1985, 1988, to do my first degree in management studies. I took a loan. My father signed off on that loan for the other half, because at the time, the CEDA, the Canadian International Development Agency, gave the scholarships. So they paid half of the tuition and all of your board and lodge, but your government was supposed to pay the other half. But Miss Charles, who was the prime minister at the time, said she didn't have any such money for that. And so if we wanted to go, we had to find our half, which is what we did. And so I went to UWE 85 to 88. I graduated UWE with first class honors. I was the first class in management studies at the time, from the time management studies was introduced in the 60s. And was awarded a scholarship by UWE to read for an MPhil leading to a PhD. However, I was bonded and the government said I had to return. And the truth is, I was just something in accounting. And although I loved accounting, I wasn't so sure and who was going to be my supervisor. And he really wanted to do it. And Dr. Lane, who at the time had one of the reputations for, that Dr. Lane was just tough. And so they said I needed to return. And so I came back. And Michelle said I would have gone the next year. I ended up staying 3 years. 88 to 91, I ended up staying 3 years because the officer who was on study leave, they thought would return, did not return. And then Miss White had left the year I came in, Miss White left, and that is how I became the coordinator of the administrative reform program. I held that job for 3 years. In the meantime, I had applied for a Commonwealth scholarship, which I had received, but because a form that my GMAT score that should have been sent up was not sent up deliberately. So they said the next year, and again, I came back. I said, nope, I'm not waiting for next year. I'm not waiting in 92. I'm leaving in 91. And so with my father, I went to the Aid Bank to apply for a scholarship to go and do my master's, and then intervened. Mr. Shaw at the time, Mr. Vernon Shaw, former president, His Excellency Vernon Shaw, from all reports, was on this committee. And when he saw my name, he said, no, that's impossible. He was the secretary to the cabinet, and the government owes me a scholarship because I was asked to return and it would have been replaced. So there's no way I could not be. And then by then, most things were closed, and even the scholarship, the offer. And it so happened that there was an officer, I don't remember her name now, who had gotten a British scholarship to go and do something, and she couldn't go. And then Miss Jennifer Astafan was at the time the CPO, and Mrs. Jennifer White, who had returned from studying, I think the training officer or something like that. And anyway, the two of them, I don't know what they did, their magic, and that British scholarship came to me, and I went to do my master's in England at the Manchester Business School. I've said already, people ask me Manchester, why Manchester? I say, I didn't choose Manchester, Manchester chose me, because if all of that twala was going on, the only place that still had like an opening, and it was like a few days, was the Manchester Business School. And that's where, and if it had to go normal route, I would never have gotten it, most likely. But at the time, Cyril Robinson was doing his dentistry in England, close to Manchester. And he and Eliud were friends, so Eliud contacted him, and so we sent him everything to him, and then he drove to Manchester to take it on my behalf. Wow. And I got in. So 2 years, 91, 93, and that was a wonderful experience too. I got to go to India and a few other places. I got to do this internship at Royal Life Estate. At the time, it was the largest real estate company in England. I had they had given me a vehicle because I had to go out to assess the effectiveness of the operations across England. That was just a beautiful assignment. I was based in Newbury, and actually, Zelkaf from Ireland and she also had an internship in Newbury, and we stayed with Andy Moxie. And if you listen in, that was our landlord. We rented a room out from him in Newbury. Wonderful little place. And so 91, 93, that was my master's. I came back in 93. I spent 2 weeks in the Ministry of Trade as a trade officer. And then I left to go to UWE to lecture. I lectured there for 1 year, 93, 94. And in 94, I left to go to East CB. And I stayed there for 4 years, 94 to 98, I left as a senior investment officer. And in 98, I went to do my PhD. Again, a backstory of that PhD, I had applied for Commonwealth scholarship. And I got a response saying that I was successful, but they had run out of money. So I wrote back and I said, well, that is not helping me, you know. So I'm going to pray that you'll find money, not just for me, but for anybody else you have given such a letter. Because telling us we are successful and yet no money, we are not successful.
Exactly.
In the meantime, while that is happening, and I wrote to these people, I came home because there's a long, the August Monday weekend is a longer weekend in St. Kitts because the Monday for culture I'm in Navy, so the Monday and Tuesdays are holidays. So I came down that weekend and I went to the aid bank. With my father, of course. I tell you anything for education, my father will sign over his whole life. Because I was determined I was going to. That's me, I'm determined. So I said, Daddy, that scholarship is doing whatever it is, well, I need to take a loan. And I remember a good friend of mine saying to me, Valda, what are you doing? Why would you take a loan for that? And he said to me then, he said, Valda, you don't have a PhD, you can't get a husband. You think you're going to get a husband with a PhD? I said to him, well, my darling, look, I didn't get it. I don't have the husband without the PhD. Trust me, the PhD is not going to make no difference if whether I have a husband, I don't have a husband. I am heading out. And he said, but Valda, you'll never finish. You'll never get a home, own a home. And I said, yes, I will. Maybe later than most people, because I'll have that big loan to pay back. But I will own, by God's grace, I will own a home. And he was so concerned. But back, so when I came back, he always says to me, and to this day, my biggest fan, he said, Valda, I'm so proud of you. So proud that you went, and what foolishness I spoke to you then. Please forgive me. I said, forgiven from the time you said it, you know. And so I came down and we did all my story for this loan. And when I got back up, going back to work the Wednesday, the first day or that very same day, there was a letter from the Commonwealth Scholarship saying that they had funds and my scholarship would take effect.
You manifested that scholarship.
And that's it. I left for my PhD 98 to 2001, and then I've been back in Dominica from the December.
Wow, such a beautiful.
Wrong ways with that, but long and short, I told myself I had 3 years to finish. They give you up to 7 years, but I told them no, I was not no young person in my 20s. I was already in my 30s, and I did not have more than 3 years because the scholarship was for 3 years and it was going to be completed in 3 years.
Amen.
You know? And that was it. And when my supervisor, he was taking his little time to read my thing, and I said to him, listen to me, you are going to have to read this thing. I'm going to get momentarily insane. I need to read it. And then, you know, bless his little soul and his wife. So after that, they called me and then they came to pick me up. So I actually went to their home and while we went over this paper, I stayed at their home. And then I said, listen, that scholarship is ending in end of October. If I'm in England beyond October, you are going to have to find the money. I'm not going to write the people to tell them I need an extension. Nope, it's 3 years they gave, and it's 3 years. And I did not defend until the December 20th was my defense. And yes, he had to find the money to pay for November and December because I determined I was not writing back to they would have paid, I'm sure, the Commonwealth Scholarship because I said you were very busy doing every other thing and so forth. But we remain still good friends, my good supervisor, Professor Ian Davidson. And, and Ian, I always remember because my area was in his. And again, when I was at Manchester, when I graduated, I drove around England looking at universities to where to come back to do my PhD because I was also said that I was coming back to England. And when I came to Warwick, I said, okay, that's it. I went to different places. I said, Warwick it is. And so I applied only to Warwick. And then Warwick wrote me and said, well, they couldn't find a supervisor for the topic that I chose. And so they recommended other schools. And I wrote back, I said, no, I'm not interested in other schools. I'm coming to Warwick. I told myself I'm coming to Warwick. So a supervisor will be found. And then maybe about a month later, they wrote me and said, we found a supervisor, person who's willing to do my work. And so I'm offered this place.
Wow.
It is God. And I'll say why. Because by the time I got accepted and so forth, that young man who just graduated, who said he'd do it, got an offer to go to the US to do some adjunct professorship. And he left. But because they had said yes to me, they couldn't come back and tell me no.
Wow.
And so when I went in, that's how my supervisor, who's really a finance guru, Professor Ian Davidson, an excellent, brilliant man. and I was going to do things with Social Security and pension. Not exactly of his alley. He was more into futures and derivatives, those fancy abstract stuff. And he just got he got stuck with me in essence, you know. And we made it, and he said to me, and I've never forgotten that, and to this day that's what happens. He says, nobody ever got a PhD having it in their head. You just write. It doesn't make, whether it makes sense or not, you just write, and you write whatever comes. And then you will edit. At least you have something to edit. And even today, when I come to other things, I just write and write and write. And then you edit accordingly afterwards, you know.
I hope a lot of young people are listening to this, and people are sharing this story with a lot of young people, because it just goes to show, like, when you know what you want and you put it out into the world and you say that's what manifesting what you want. Like, you did not back down for 1 second. You were just like, I am going to get this in that space of time, and if it does not happen, you're going to have to figure it out, but this is the time I have. And this is such an amazing story, because you came out of university, you completed, and you know, one of the things that you've always spoken about, you know, is finance and wealth management and all of these different things. Like, I've heard you speak about it on countless times, and the importance of insurance and the importance of saving and the importance of all these different things that you always speak at every event. You were supposed to have your youth series this year.
Yes. But we're going to have a virtual one. I have recrafted that program to go virtual. My last youth series for a while, mine, but your series will continue, but I mean, not.
Yeah, so you have the youth series, you have the Phenomenal Caribbean Woman, you have the men's what is it called again?
Phenomenal Caribbean Men's Symposium.
Yes,
we added the Wealth Symposium
as well. And you've always, I say, take a leap of faith every single time you put these together. I say a leap of faith because you do it a lot. You do it a lot of times with very little support. When I say support, financial support, and it's so discouraging, you know, that somebody of your caliber, people will not put respect on you and realize that what you're trying to do is really trying to educate, nurture the minds of young people, of women, and inspire and empower. And people are very reluctant, for whatever reason, to put money into your events, and a lot of times you've had to actually do it on your own. You want to share a little bit about, you know, why you felt it was necessary to have all of these events that target different people, and not just different people, also wealth management.
I'll say to you, Jael, that for youth, the first event that I had was the youth series. That was in 2007. And the thing that I always say to people, if you ask me what's my vocation, I'll tell you my vocation is to teach. And so I'm very passionate about young people. And then, you know, around the time you had all these stories of these young children over and over. The same story repeats itself. You know, one of those little sex scandals, and somehow it's always the girls' faces that get shown, and you know, it was happening. And that year we had a bit of that. And I said, you know, the core of that, part of the core, there are many reasons, but one of the fundamental reasons, I believe, is a lack of self-esteem and self-confidence, not sure of their value. And so because if you're not sure of your value and who you are, then it's easy to be taken for a ride. It's easy for people to dangle things before you, and then for you to think that is valuable and go for it. And so I crafted this youth series on, and the theme was, and it remains the same, empowering our youth for a better tomorrow. And it is anchored in self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-awareness. I say in youth series, we don't do any maths, any English, any geography, no. Whole year they were doing that, and there are lots of other programs where they can go and do that. Though one year, one of our volunteers was a maths wizard, Shagan John, and the children wanted him, and he taught them so beautifully. But generally, it is anchored on that. And the whole thing is looking at their goodness. And that's what I frame it at. We start with Psalm 149, created, you know, we're here for purpose, called by our names, all of that. And we anchor it on that self-esteem. And then we do things coping with peer pressure. So those are the kind of things. And every year we do a little sub-theme with what's happening, but always that core remains. So to strengthen at their sense of who their awareness of who they are, their sense of self, and their worth. And so for me, that was important. And I mean, I remember some years my staff would say, you know, because we made no money on this. People think I make money. I see some comments people write on Facebook. And I remember one year there was some persons actively telling people do not come to my events because it's all about money for me and so forth. If they would know the truth, I make no money on these things. I actually carry these things. And my staff was saying, because there was a time, you know, our finances were a little tight, and they're like, drop this. And I was like, no.
I remember that year, because I remember you were even going to cancel because you had started running your ads on radio.
Yeah.
And you called me to say, Jael, I think I'm going to have to put it on pause.
Yeah. And I was like, no, you know, we will find a way. And then I came up with a little idea, and I said to persons, and I came back on the radio and I said, you know, farmers, bring me what you have. We'll take what you have. And then we got parents to come to cook, to do this, to do that. And that was one of the most fantastic ones. And we carried that. And then over time, we got 2 key sponsors for Youth Series, who I really must highlight. We've got other persons help us, but our main sponsors, the National Bank of Dominica and Gentry Funeral Services. And over the years, they have maintained their commitment. And so wherever the shortfalls are, they cover. And so we have been able to run the Youth Series, no COVID, because of the support given by those 2 main companies. And then, of course, we have other companies who, on the last day, we do this family gathering, and we, at no cost to the families, and we tell them, come and bond with your children. Come on the hike. We always did a hike. Come on the hike. And then we ended up with a picnic and so forth. And we had companies who came on board, just like J. Stephenson Company. Again, that's another company I always get a little support from, whether it was Giselle, Jenny, always. Ahmad, because Ahmad is his name. Imad, yes. Because Imad came to one of my conferences and they said he fell in love with me there, you know, and so even when he was the marketing person, he would provide the support, you know. Springfield Trading, Belfast Estates, Fine Foods, you know, those are the companies you could always kind of depend on. And some years it has dwindled over the years, and I guess things have gotten tighter, but they would have provided that support. So that was our Youth Series. The Phenomenal Caribbean Women and Men came out from an incident. It was reported that when Oprah, I think she was doing her 50th anniversary, 50th birthday, and she had invited her 50 best friends, and they were sailing, and they had said her yacht had docked outside on the bayfront. And the ministry of NDC people at the time came running bearing gifts. And it was reported that she rebuffed their gifts. And then they set sail and they disappeared. And when I heard that story, I said, look at this. So many of us look up to Oprah, you know, admire Oprah and so on. And I said, I wonder if it was a Caribbean person who had come, whether they would have gone running bearing gifts, or instead would have said, oh, she chose not to tell her she was coming and not go. And I said, right within our homes, our villages, our countries, our region, we have people who have made such significant impact in the lives of others. And here's Oprah there, but she doesn't care about us. We listen, we get inspired. So why don't we stop and celebrate ourselves, our own? And it's something you said, which is true. A prophet really has no honor in his home. And we don't celebrate enough our own people. And so that is how that Youth Series, that Phenomenal Caribbean Women and Men, the idea came up. And I remember and even the theme, Arlene John was the one I had called to do. You know, I said to her, we need candles and I need, you know, stuff, you know, for that, the tokens. And then she says, what do I put on them? What is the theme? And I said, oh, I haven't thought of a theme. And I was facilitating a workshop at Garrow Hotel at the time. I said, give me when I go on break. I will give that a little thought and I'll come back to you. And Garraway has a little front, you know, when you come through the lobby, if you continue straight, you come like into this open space, like a little garden, you know, where they had like a little fronds and stuff there, and some chairs and benches. And I sat there and I said, God, I need a theme. And I maybe sat there for a good few minutes, and then this little theme came. Whatever you conceive, you can achieve, because God has the power to deliver what he promises. And that became the theme, remains the theme. But again, we have sub-themes, but that's it. This year, our sub-theme was what? Growth, enlargement, and restoration was our sub-theme. And it looked like it fell on me. So, yes, so that was that. And that came on. And so we've been doing that. And then the idea of the Web Symposium, when on last year, VFing 15th anniversary fell on a Sunday. And I went to Mass. And when I was from Mass and I'm opening my door to get back home, to get back in my home, a thought just hits me and say, wait, but Valda, next year you'll be 15. VFing will be 15. I can't go unannounced. 15 has to be celebrated. What are you going to do differently? And as I'm walking from my home, the idea came, you need to do a Web Symposium. And I went straight to my study, put on my computer, and I started just typing and typing and typing. And then when I was through with that, I said, but wait, HR is what is my strength. What am I doing a Web Symposium and not HR? So I'll do an HR too. And then I started typing up for the HR too. And when I was finished with that, it was maybe almost midnight. And then I sent out 2 emails, one to the governor, Timothy Antoine, and one to my friend Eric Guichard of Gravitas. No, I think Orange One. I'm based in Washington. And I said to them, this is what came up. This is the idea. What do you think? And so forth. And when I got up that Monday morning, by 6 a.m., both had responded positively that they would support this.
Wow.
Governor had said, no, the ECC was itself hosting HR, so he'd have to clear that one with his HR team, but he could say definitely for the Web Symposium. And so I started doing my plan, and then COVID came, we put that on hold a bit. But while during COVID, I stayed and finalized that stuff. I thought of the topics, I thought of speakers, possible speakers. I started contacting the speakers, and so all during the COVID lockdown. And then one of the persons and I started I sent out like a marketing brief to companies saying to them, save the date. And one person, when she saw it, she called me back and she said, that's excellent. And she think I should contact Caribbean Association of Bankers. And then we were having discussions and it was yes, and then kind of stalled along the way. And so my anniversary came and there was nothing. And I said, no, I cannot have it. So that's when I did the Small Business Forum. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, and I said, but Valda, I sat down one day and I said, but Valda, since when you depended on people to do your things, you are because of just doing your story, or is that you allowed a collaboration that didn't come through to stall your stuff? So I said, okay, well, Symposium is back on the calendar, both things. And I started putting it together. I wrote them and I started to say, no, it's maybe not convenient, maybe another time. And so, wonderful. And she called back me, the CEO, and she says, no, Valda, I really want. And, we had a nice, good conversation. But I said, no, I'm going ahead with that. And you can support by promoting it and so on. But I'll go ahead with that. And maybe along the way, you can come along. And that's how we did it. And then I started getting speakers. I tried to ask for one, and then Van Sleeper contacted me about this. His friends, well, before that, he was talking to me about something. So I contacted him and asked him if he wanted to speak, Owen Pan, the others. And before I know it, I had if I say so,
you had a panel
national lineup, and that's important. And then I was thinking one, and I said, but wait, I need a young person. Interestingly, just the day before that fought, I had gone on LinkedIn and I saw something that Luan, I didn't know of her before. I saw something that some finance focus. And I said, oh. And then I'm talking to my team, Christiana Paul, who's like our marketing intern who has just done wonders with us on social media. And I was saying to them, because that's one thing I involve on my staff and everybody into things so that they are part of it. And I said, I think I need a young person. And then she says, well, there's Luan. And she had her contact details. And I said, yeah, it's interesting that you'd say that. Because just yesterday, I bumped into her thing on LinkedIn, her finance focus on one of the presentation. And she came to mind. And then we contacted her and she said yes and so forth. And then along the way, while we were going along, Clem sent to me Clementina Fana that she saw that she had only now seen it and so forth and so on. And I said, yes, I'll squeeze along. And I just adjusted. I shortened somebody's time to give her a little space so she could come to do a presentation, which was also wonderful. And that symposium, when I was going home at the night of this last day of that symposium, all I could think was that, and I didn't come back like that, my phone died on me, was that the persons who did not attend that symposium are poorer for it. Because the facilitators, they took these presentations and the topics from such different angles, anchored it, and then you recognize that where it is that even in terms of your own personal spending on your own personal relationship with money, and so you had to revisit. And and I just felt that is something. In fact, I've said to Nix and them ever so often, and a lot of people are calling to for us to buy it. Maybe we'll put little tidbits along a VFink, your page, your Facebook page, to give persons that opportunity to look at it. And even when I spoke to Luan and even Clem, I had said to them, one of the things I want to do is to be able to use that even in terms of the youth series as a presentation. Because if from very early you introduce persons, young people, to money and the value of money and how to recognize it, then you'll find that we'll have a generation who is more astute and who's more prudent in their spendings and more prudent. And so we won't have all that stresses, because one of the biggest stresses is finance. I tell people, for me, I always say, if you don't have financial independence, you have no independence at all.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like I was following your stuff, like in terms of that, because actually wanted to attend, but I was still in school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wanted to, because from the time when I saw the list of people, I was like, but where she does get people now? It's like
obviously, I don't know. I think I just call you and I say what it is I want. I didn't know when Pan these people said, and even there's this man from Jamaica, I can't remember his name, but my good friend Dale Pilgrim. Again, I met there. I call him my good friend. You would not believe we've never met each other in person. But last year I bumped upon this advertisement for this HR conference, and I signed up. And that was maybe one of the best decisions of my COVID year. And they have this continued network and a network for HR persons in the and I all think all HR professionals should be part of this. And we just connected. Our spirits just connected. And so when I was doing this, and I was like, I still need another speaker for something. She said, okay, I know someone. Let me see if I can connect him. And she spoke to him. He said yes. I called him up. We had a conversation. Said yes, and we went along. And she was also so instrumental even in my preparation for this position, because she said, I know someone and who works at the Bank of Jamaica, and she connected us, and again, it's just panned out.
Wow, a lot of people are commenting. Lisa is saying that she missed the Wealth Symposium. We were actually at the phenomenal Caribbean Women Symposium.
Yes.
So she missed that one, and we hope that you can have it again sometime in the near future. But I think that's where I'm going to probably lead to, because you are the CEO of VF Inc. It's your brainchild, your baby, you're the founder, and you're in the next few days, I should say, you're going to have to move your life from the Nature Isle to St. Kitts.
Yes.
What's going to happen to VFA?
Well, VFink is going to remain. I won't be part of it in terms of me being the face. So I have to do my last live by maybe September, somebody on VFink. But VFink is going to still remain. We have a CEO who's going, and she's going to do wonders. I will announce her closer to when she's going to take up office, October 1st. We'll do the announcement closer to that time. I have full confidence in her and in her abilities to be able to continue and expand the work of VFink. I've put together a team. We've always had a team of strategic partners, but I've augmented that team with other persons. We're going to have a business development officer who's going to be able to drive business. And yes, Phenomenal Caribbean Women Symposium 2022 is on. We have confirmed 4 of the 6 speakers already. The youth series is going to remain. Youth series 2022, God willing, will take place, because we are going to have a youth series 2021, a modified one. We're going to go virtual, and I will release this next week.
If you're not following her, you should follow her.
Yeah, I have revamped that program, because And and some of my students were so disappointed because they said you'd have to be the week before. And if you had kept it the week before, I said yes. But a lot of parents had said ask us to change to the following week because the Newtown Juvenile Football Academy program was on. And Nathan and Neri were in that program too. And I really wanted them to do the 2 weeks. And so we moved. But then that we know what is the situation. But that's not a problem. We'll go virtual with that. I have crafted it. I have we're going to have art and art artists, so they learn how to draw. So the parents just have to get the stuff. We're going to make them how to make their hoagies and their pizzas. We're going to still do some of the sessions virtually, and of course our core programs remain in terms of self-esteem. And one of the things we do every year is in terms of money. NBD hosts this thing, and they make it so much fun. They do it like Wheel of Fortune. Every year NBD shifts that around, and every year that comes up as one of the best programs because they bring managing money to the level of the children into fun things. And I guess they won't be able to get their tokens at the time, but I'm sure NBD will give me the tokens so they can come to collect the tokens because NBD is that generous, okay? So I put them right there on the spot so they can't ungenerous themselves, but they are. Susan Piper, and one of the things she said last year when she came, and she said, Valda, I will support your stuff because always I know it will end well. And I have to really say that for NBD. NBD has truly stood in our corner to enable us to do some of the things that we do. And well, my family, our businesses, they don't have a choice in the sense that if I call, they don't have a choice. I say, Kondwani, I need X, Y, and Z. Of 1 year for youth series, Kondwani practically provided us with all the food, because I needed stuff, and they step in, Afinia did all this cooking for free. I just provided the ingredients and we pay for the workers, but in terms of a goal argent for catering, no, and that's one of the things they step in. My sister Nafo at Springfield, I call her, if I'm stuck, I will call, I say, Lanaf, you need to come through for your sister. She'll give me all kind of stories. I can't tell you to say that on some of the things she'll tell me. I can't say that there.
Yes.
I'll just say to her, it's okay. Yeah. If that's all you're going to pay me, I know you have plenty of that. So just bring it on, And so that's how we have been able to do what it is we do. And so, yes, VFing is going to continue. I see VFing even thriving. Gregor Nassif at the Web Symposium had said something. And at the time, I didn't think it because it's interesting. It's the day after Web Symposium, I got the call about this other interview for that ECCB job. It's just weird. And that's why I said to people, even that is good. And he said, one of the things he said is that he can start businesses, he can start it, get it going. But after it gets to 2 years, 3 years, he has to let it go and give it to other people to manage it and to make it become what it is. And I said, okay, now after 15 years, it's time to let go to VF Inc. in the hands of others to make it so. Because 15 years is an adult, and we have a solid reputation for quality, for excellence, for integrity. VF Inc. has a solid reputation for that. We deliver. And some people, yes, they say we're expensive, but I always say to people, listen, folks, there's different modes of transportation. You can walk, you can take a cab away, you can have a Lexus, you can have a BMW, but you cannot expect a Lexus performance from walk-in or a cab away. It's just not possible. So if you want a Lexus performance, you must be prepared to pay the price.
Lexus price.
And one of the things that I have found, and sometimes I see is like a little disrespect, So they come and they try to bring you down so low. But me, I set a fee. There's room for negotiation, but there's a bar. Mm-hmm. And nobody getting me below the bar. If it's below the bar, we go in, I tell you, thank you very kindly. I remember once, there's a client, and I've done work for them before, and they were very satisfied. I come back, I want to do something. So I said, no, you know what? I pick up my bag, I close myself, it's okay. And I said, that price, I might as well want to take my child to the beach because my child is been neglected. So if it's that I have to work for, I better just go on to the beach and take my child and spend quality time.
Exactly.
So there is a flaw that you and persons, because even this year somebody did something to me, a client, and I was a little bit annoyed about it. And when I stop about why am I annoyed, I like to always analyze my feelings. And I said that was disrespect. because the person knows the value, and I always give people more than they pay me for. That's a fact. You pay me for one thing, I come, I find something else, I just do it. And I don't ask you for more money, which I know other people do.
I think it's a Caribbean culture, though.
And you know, they bring, and you see that they pay somebody else 20 times more than yours, and they have no difficulty.
Don't pay somebody else, they pay white people.
White people or people from outside of the region, even outside, can be black people to outside of the country, and they have no difficulties, but they always want, or they will not even come. They say, oh, that Valda expensive, way, so they will not even come. But I always say to people, I know my worth.
Exactly.
I know my worth, and I know I give value for money. I know there's no project I've gone on that someone can say they got less than they paid for. In fact, what they will say is that they need to pay me more because they've not paid me enough for what I've delivered.
I paid you.
Oh, it's true. And then I also do a lot of voluntary work.
Yeah.
But you will never even know the difference between my free work and all, because I give it the same energy, the same thing. I remember once we had this program and they wanted me to come to teach, and when the lady told me what they were paying, I said to her, no, I'll do it for free. That's my alma mater. I'm going. And she's like, you serious? I said, yeah. So I followed up with an email to confirm that I would do this thing for free. And they couldn't believe it. Even her boss called me and said, I said, yes, I will come and teach for free. I will do it for free. They call that my give back to my alma mater. And that was the first time that had happened to me, though. And when the session was over, these men, they are dolls. Girl, I tell you, so the people stood up to give, when you finish giving little talks, they little thank you, they little what touch them. And a man started crying. And the entire class of about 25 adult students began crying. It was like a wail. The lady comes, now the administrator comes running down the corridor and saying, Valda Henry, what have you done to the people? And then she opens it, and here am I standing at the front without words, speechless, and that entire class crying.
Wow.
Because in essence, what they were saying is that they learned not just the subject, it touched them that deeply.
Yes.
Touched that when I was leaving a little envelope, and I didn't open it until I got back to the hotel. And in it was a check. That was more than what I would have charged them if I had charged them.
Wow. Wow. Gratitude is a must.
Yeah.
Yes. I put your VF Inc. links for people if you want to follow VF Inc. I believe in supporting, so you could go on there and click. So I've put the link on there for those of you who's been there for a little while. And I also want to encourage folks to ask your questions. I see the questions coming in. I put up the link earlier on to ask your questions, and we have questions coming in. So we don't want to neglect the questions. We want to make sure we get all the questions. And we have Luan is asking a question. As a woman in a man's world, what advice would you give young female professionals who aim to bridge the gap and effect change?
Well, when I say that, people don't believe me. But I don't even see myself as a woman in a man's world. I just know it's true. I don't know. And I think it's so, and I said that somebody asked me that question. And I tell them they'll have to blame my father, because my father never made us think as lay women we had to do. He just always said, you had to be your best. Mm-hmm. So he didn't differentiate girls and boys. We just had to be, and my father didn't accept anything less than the best from us. Mm-hmm. And so, because he said you could go and he said that so many, you could be anything, go anywhere. And he always said to us, the world has enough problems of its own, don't go and add to it. Go out there, and I say to people, set for yourself goals. What is it you want to achieve? And then set the standards. Yes, if you don't have standards, anything will do. And so whether you are man or woman, you will fail. Set yourself high standards. And if you put yourself to the highest standards that there is, you will work. Because as my father says, and it is correct, cream always rises to the top. So for me, what I see when I go out to do anything, I always say to myself, let me see, the standard I set to myself is world class. That I can stand my ground with anybody across this world in my field. And that is it.
Somebody else saying hello. Sheldon Kazimi.
Yes, mothers. Yeah, that's
I see.
mothers. Yes, mothers. Thank you, my Sheldon.
Such great advice always.
No, that's it. So for me, that's what I do. I always said to you, I said I'm a teacher. But one of the things I said, I don't want to be any teacher. Nah? I want to be a teacher set apart. And that's why I knew I always was going to do a PhD, because that was going to set me apart at the highest level always. And if you set yourself those very high standards, you will find that male, female, in between, you will hold your own, and you will even maybe tower over those. One of the things I find a lot of young people, when I look at some of their Facebook page, they stop to answer everything somebody throw at them. So somebody say, oh, I don't like that Jael, that child is just too much, it's just too loud, it's just da, 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 da. And Jael wants to go and have another whole long life, a whole long story.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you, it does scratch me. But
No,
I doesn't face it.
My father used to say to me, when people talk about you, be very happy. It means you're important to them. Mm-hmm. He said, listen and see. So some of what they say may have some nuggets. Take the nuggets, the rest leave. Don't stop to answer. Mm-hmm. He said, if you stop to answer, you'll be wasting your time. That is just a diversion to take you off your track. Keep focused on your goals. So what is not going to happen? There'll always be a step behind because you're moving forward. And so sometimes my friends will say, I'm foolish, but I'm not foolish. I just choose to not respond to many things. I see people write all kinds of things on my, they say, Valda, take it out. I say, no, on my page, they come in. Some people are so bold, they come in on your page to say things. Me, I don't respond. I don't even take them out. I leave them right there. It's a free.
I leave them. I don't delete them. Somebody actually said to me, why don't I delete them? I'm like, delete them for what?
I don't delete and I don't answer. I say, you're brave enough. As super living. You have your own page, write what you want, but you come on my page. Well, stay there, do. It's all right. I don't have no difficulty with you on that page. You understand?
Oh, so, my God.
Yeah. So that's it. So that is why to compete, set yourself high standards. Read a lot. If you don't read a lot. Whatever is your field. One of the things I say for myself in HR, that there's no client who should tell me what is in the industry, what is the latest thing. No, I am the one who must guide. How am I going to guide? I must be ahead of the curve. So I read, I attend every conference, money, no money, I find it, I make it a priority. And from 2009, from Dominica, I have led a delegation of HR. Yes, the numbers are keep dwindling because it's the same set of us. And again, companies, I just put out a plea there for companies. You need to invest more in your people. And if it's one thing COVID showed us, is that we all had to leave all our structures to work remotely. And who made working remotely possible? Your human beings, your HR resource, your people. Who carried the brunt of that and is still carrying the brunt of it? HR and IT. People.
Yes.
So invest in your people, but I also tell people to invest in yourself. Yes. Don't say it's too expensive to go to something for your own enrichment. So let us take the World Symposium. It was what, $400, I believe it was, or $300. People are like, oh, that is so expensive. How did they couldn't come? They didn't come. Your own self. Those very same people will spend $2,500 on a carnival costume. Mm-hmm. So you're going to tell me $400 is expensive, $2,500 not expensive? Mm-hmm. So again, it goes back to priorities. But I cannot tell people what their priorities are, and I don't wish to go there. I'll be totally out of order and out of place. But when you do that, it's not that you cannot afford it. It is what is my priority at the time. And yes, sometimes you get to a point where you really can't afford even $1, and that is fine, and that is true. But oftentimes, if we tell ourselves we cannot afford things without even exploring, can I really get it? So me, there is nothing that I want. There's nothing that I think is going to lead to my enrichment that I will not do. I went to Singapore once. Also, I got to Singapore. When I had just got into consulting, and the balance scorecard was just coming out, Robert Kaplan and them, just coming out of the balance scorecard. And all the big firms around the world had moved to this balance scorecard. And it was becoming something, making this the waves to come from. So yes, I bought the book and I'm reading. And I saw a little advertisement, although that turned out to be like a thing. We'll come to that. but they were giving us software for this. And I said, great. If I can get a software for that, then I can now begin to sell and promote and introduce Balance Scorecard across my client base. So armed with Joan, at the time I was doing a project with ABI Bank, and the HR manager was Joan Underwood. She now has a book, and which I wish I had it. I intend to bring it. We should all buy the HR toolkit. If you're HR, you should have it. If you're CEO, I have started to read it. Joan, I still have a few more pages before I then do my whole review on it. Mm-hmm. And Bernie Roberts, who was the CFO, they were on the project, and together with me, the three of us, I told them, let's be headed out to Singapore. They had a bank that paid for them. I had to pay for my way. The ticket alone was almost $15,000 or $18,000 was the flight to Singapore. The cost was another how much US of thousands of dollars. In all, that trip cost me about $45,000.
Wow.
And I had just started into my business, but I went. When I got to Singapore, okay, first day I waiting for that software, I'm not seeing it. Okay, I co-help myself. Second day, I waiting for the software, nothing. So I put up my hand. I said, so when are we going to the software? I figure out it takes time. I'm going to have to teach you how to use it when. They say, oh, no, it's coming next day. Do it. I said, next one, they then send out this thing, the Excel spreadsheet. I say, when I move all the way to Singapore, $45,000 for Excel spreadsheet. I say, you're crazy. Well, that was at a meeting. But again, I enjoyed Singapore. Oh my God, Singapore Airlines is the best airlines. But I took that and I went and I called my nephew, Sekani Williams. Sekani had done some program and he worked for Rockefeller when they were doing the Iran story. He had done some programs and he did a program for the Medicare thing. I said, that's not if you can do Medicare programming for in America for the whole Medicare system. If you can do a program that holds for a whole ship that doing big wars, it's not a little balance scorecard, you don't know. And the boy's science major, biomedical technology. I said, Seki, I'm going to get you, but by the time I have time to get it, he bought this, Rob, you need to go and buy this book. You need to read it, understand it, because you need to develop me a software for this. And that's exactly what happened.
Boom, bada bing, bada boom.
So I said, don't be afraid. Don't, because your investment in you cannot go wasted. No. And one of the things I tell you, if your people see you investing in you, they will be more willing to invest in you because they see that you are willing to invest in yourself. Because if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why should I want to invest in you? You understand? So and I say to people, I've had horror little stories, but I've had good breaks in my life too. I say to people, Mr. Ozzy Sims, I will forever hold dear. Because when I came back from studying in 1988 with my first degree, I never worked in the civil service. They put me in ARP, and there's stories behind that, but we will not even go down that way. And one of the things, Mr. Sims, and there was one of the officers, I won't call her name because she's deceased, so, and that used to be a time of my life. And he used to say to her, leave the child alone. She's bright. And he gave me wings to fly. Wow. So he gave me boundaries, and within that boundary, I was free to make my decisions. If I wanted to go outside, I had to go back to him. So that is where I learned to begin to make decisions, and decisions not just at a small level, at a strategic public service level. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to, as a teacher, you're always independent because you teach. I taught at Community High School, I taught at UB. When I went to ECCB too, again, when I joined, I knew nothing about finance. I just had an interest. I done some finance course, investment officer. I didn't have one investment experience, but I was always fascinated with investments. So at the interview, then they asked me what's my experience and why should I be chosen. I said, listen, I have no investment experience. I've not invested $1. But what I do know, I've done some finance courses. I have an interest and an aptitude for the subject. I am a quick learner. I am a fast learner. I am curious. I will read, and trust me, in no time, I will have the handle of this thing.
Period.
And that's what I said. And that's what I did. I read, I worked hard. I Until there used to be a joke. I think when I went back to Mississippi on this assignment, one of the security officers said to me, because they used to say to me, just bring your bed and just stay there, because I'm very late. I would be there on a Saturday, maybe late on a, I invested, I did the work. Sometimes young people, all they want is about money. They just get a first degree and they think their salary should be $10,000. They've not they've not walked the path. They can't even put 2 sentences together. No.
Dr. Henry, we have another question. I
Yes.
don't want to miss that question. I really think it's important. So it'll be our final question for the night. And thank you very much, guys, those of you who commented. And don't forget, if you can support the show today, you can donate. You can donate via Patreon. If you want to do a monthly donation, you can donate any amount monthly. If it's $1.50 you want to donate every month towards the show, it will automatically come out every single month. That's at patreon.com/Jael Joseph. Or you can send a donation to PayPal at Jael Joseph at jaeljoseph.com. Final question of the evening is, Lisa Baste asked, there is no manual on life or on an individual's journey to success. Do you think a woman can have it all? I have had to answer that question for myself, but I'd like your perspective and perhaps others would too.
Lisa is a person, let me just say that I admire tremendously.
No.
I didn't know her, but I admired her from a distance. I would follow her posts on Facebook, and I just found them always so empowering and so, self.
Have a little shade.
Yeah, yes, she have a little shade, but she has some really,
gems.
profound statement. Is a person who knows herself. Can we have it all? The question is, what is all? You have to determine what is your all. You mean, can you have a husband? Can you have children? Can you have a career? Can you have a social life? Can you have a religious life? Or so, another. So yes, you can. But what does it mean? It's a balance. How do we balance having it all? So at one point, certain things will have to take priority, because it's impossible to give everything equal attention. So what you then have to say is, at this stage, what of all of these things, what is the most important for me? I say to people, your family has to remain like your bedrock. It is your constant, because that is what is going to shoulder you through the hard times of life. And so always we have to make time to give that, let us say 40% of our time. And then the other 60 for the other things. And sometimes we have to give, like I say, it's our career. Right now is my career move, because sometimes that is your move. Mm-hmm. And so some things have to stay back. Maybe the social life have to stay back. So you focus now on the career. And then when you have achieved that, you move to the next. And so always it becomes what is the priority? And sometimes we don't take enough time to think through what is the important thing for me at this stage. And we just keep going. And what we do, we burn ourselves thin, because we're trying to give everything the same attention. But everything cannot have the same attention.
I think you're talking to me too.
It is about focus, prioritize. So put down your little, remember, Liz, we did a little chart of where we're spending our time, and then put our next chart where it is we need to spend our time. Mm-hmm. And that will determine our priorities. For me, at the time I had no children, it was easy to just focus on my education, and I was doing that. But even along doing all of that, and no matter where I go, I find other things. I've always, because you see, life cannot just be, you can't just be so tunnel visioned that you miss the other things around you. And one of the things, celebrate you. And I think too often that's why we fail, and especially as women, we put ourselves back. We think it is like a sacrilegious thing to celebrate ourselves and to reward ourselves. And so we give everything we have to everybody else, and in the end, we are left with nothing. And then when we are left with nothing, we then start to get bitter, because we blame, we say, oh, I did that for her, I did that for him, and now where's the repayment? No, you can't give all of what you have to everybody. You can't. You must take care of you first, so that because we can only give what we have. And if all I have is anger, that's all I can give you. If all I have is bitterness, that's what I can give you. But if I have maybe a little anger here too, and a little bitterness, and a little, but I must have some joy and love and life. We must find joy. Mm-hmm. You see me, I celebrate often. Moi, tu je can celebrate, and I don't need big things. You know, people just wait for big things to happen to them. I drive and I get a little parking spot. I say, thank you, Jesus. I'm very thankfulness is another key. You come, you give me something, and I say, it can be a little mango. I love mangoes, and you brought me a mango. Oh my God, Kenny, oh my God, I don't need big things. Just bring me the little things. That's good enough, you know. And then at our BFing, any little project we do, and we get a project, we have a little celebration, or a little thing of glass. We have a end of a major project. Before, I used to buy myself big things. So I end the project, I bought myself a ring with the matching necklace, the ring, the this, the that. Oh, I love jewelry. I tell Nathan, since he came, my priorities have just shifted. I will be honest with you. My priorities now is to ensure that I say I have enough jewelry, I have enough of plenty of those things. My priority is to ensure that Nathan has his future, his financial future. The foundation is established for him. So his life insurance is in place, his education insurance is in place, and there is to be money to help the child. So that is where the focus is.
You know, I want to thank you so much, because I remember years ago you spoke to me about you were not speaking to me directly. You were speaking just like you are today, because today is supposed to be about your life, and here you are giving people so much advice, things that people should pay for. Yes, free consultation at VF Inc. You know, click on the link and get your 15 minutes with Dr. Henry, and you pay for it. You know, that's how it happens now. But I remember you saying to me that, you know, how important it was. You spoke about trust fund babies and how trust fund babies are formed. You were randomly speaking. And I remember going back to Canada, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take that advice. You don't it's funny. You don't even know, like, a lot of people on the live, and people have stayed on throughout, and they're really showing appreciation for the information. Magdalene is saying, thank you, Dr. Henry, such valuable information. Valerie is also asking the questions, and I want to encourage, if you have any questions, head over to the VF page. She always responds. It toujours à la page, right? Go and you can send a message. The people, if you have questions on volunteer opportunities, if you have any questions,
I said that, Valerie.
You can definitely reach out, go on the page, follow, like, subscribe, what you need to do, and send your messages through, and she or one of her staff will definitely reach out and help you. And we're so excited, and I want to give you your flowers, because I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud. You know, when I see people like you do things, people that I look up to, you know, people I look at doing such wonderful things, because you blended your family life, your career, and everything in one, and you make it look so effortless, you know. And this is one of the things that I want to aspire to be. And the path that you walk, it might be different from my path, but I see such greatness in you, Dr. Henry, and I want to tell you thank you for all the work that you've done for Dominican youth. I'm not saying that like as if you go in and you're not passing back, but I'm telling you that, you know, if they didn't thank you, I want to say thank you on their behalf. You know, thank you for all the work that you've done with all of the different events that you do, you know, and the different things that you do to inspire people, your volunteerism work, everything that you do. And we know you're going on to greater and bigger things. And when you come back, when we need a consultation, it might be 5 times the price that it is right now. And so, I'm just telling them that no, I just always want you to take them now when they're at regular price, because at least you can, when they go and they come back, you can say, but Dr. Henry, you just giving me that price. I can't get that price. You know, like I'm your regular customer. You know, you get the preferred customer price.
Yes, indeed. I love that, you know, because I mean, even when I was doing my studies, you know, the social security institutions were just so generous to me, their time and their resources. So even to this day, any social security who asks for something, they get an automatic 25% of the price, and sometimes we go more, because yes, that was for me my way of always saying thank you back to them. Churches, I never charge. There's no church, whatever is the denomination, who have ever asked me for something that I have charged. I do all things for churches for free. I did lots of work before for the government for free, you know. Schools call you to do something. What do you charge them? No.
I know.
you know, and so that's it. So so you have to always give back, because you know it's again the Bible. I've always, and as a child, that has always helped me. Deposit generosity in your storehouse; it will guard you against so much misfortune. And it is true. As you more generous you are, and it comes back in the New Testament. Give, it comes back to you full measure, pressed down and running over. You know, shaking together. And it's not just about money. People say that to you in church, but it's about your own life. Because all of us have something we can give, you know, and if we have a talent, we need to do, you know, you use it for us, but also share it with others. And Jael, you know, you had said something, and I intended to interject, say that then, and I didn't. When you talk about leap of faith, in fact, I always said my autobiography, I actually have the ISBN number for that, for my autobiography, which I have not started writing, and it is called Leaps of Faith.
Look at
Leap of
that.
Faith. Yes, I actually have the ISBN number for that. I got that many moons ago. Because I always said if I had to do an autobiography, it would be called Leap of Faith, because so often I have walked through paths just on faith. You know, I haven't seen, I just get this inclination or this, I say it's my bones saying I need to go here, I need to do this. And
I say it's my mom.
yeah, and I said my
That
bones,
might be your mom.
and you know, my bones are talking to me, and I just sometimes I don't see the pathway at all, and sometimes even on the path, so many obstacles. But if you keep true to the path, it finds out. As you say about your mom, you know, just before that whole process started, these two birds had flown into my bathroom. I actually did a reflection on that. And I have this friend, and I never connected it. But these two birds kept coming back throughout this thing. And then when I got the news, this friend said, he said, Valda, did you see these two birds today? And I said, yes, I did. The two birds were there. He said, you know, I think these are your parents, you know, my mom and my dad, they're now both fast. And these two birds, from the start to the end of the journey, presented themselves. Maybe they were two different birds. I don't think it's the same two birds, but
You never know. You never know. We have all these guardian angels and all different
yes,
places,
we do,
and
we do.
especially when you work so hard to get to somewhere, or you're working so hard behind the scenes and nobody's seeing the work that you're putting in, and then you look for all these signs. You know, it's like it happens, you know, like even when you see the same numbers, it happens to me a lot. Or just like randomly, like yesterday, you know, I was in the bathroom, I was having a shower, and I before I went to have a shower, I got an email from like a major producer, you know, asking if I'd like to apply for a position. And I was like, why me? You know, like, should I respond? You know, because this is going to take me back and forth between Canada and America. If I were to get the position, you know, and I'm starting my master's, and there's so much, you know, I still have my kids, and you know, like so many things you have to think about, and you know, you ask for a sign, and I just always ask for a sign. It's just, and then when it comes, it just come, and you just know it. And the birds might have been a sign, and there's so many great things I wish for you, and I wish I don't know if you'll come back. I'm sure you'll come back to Dominica, but I wish you all the best in your journey to St. Kitts. I wish St. Journey mercies, love, and light, you know, to shine your way and let you be the brightest star. And we know, because y'all are power, we know we're going to hear plenty good things coming from St. Kitts.
Yeah.
We're so proud to be a Dominican woman, you know, hashtag goals. And thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm telling you all, this might be the last interview that she does for free. The next, y'all gotta pay. So, y'all gotta
I'm trying to put you all on no Debbie, but Debbie, I just want to shout you out, Beverly Blackman. Yeah, we were in school together. Yeah,
yes.
friends. Thank you so much. You know, I know it's true. It's just that, and one of the other things I say to persons again, that opportunity, think it through, pray it through, and if you decide to go for it, claim it from the beginning. Anything you have not claimed, it will not come to pass. But once you claim it, it then becomes manifest. And just to share two little things before I leave in terms of manifesting. And when we in 2017, after Hurricane Maria, I went to St. Kitts to start an assignment. Imagine that assignment had to start so long, I kept being delayed, and then it started at the day of Maria. I had to go and sign the contract Maria came and so on. So after they said to start, and I said, Nathan, asthmatic, and he was asking about school, and I said, maybe now is the right time to leave. I was feeling a little way when I was leaving. I said, oh my God, I'm leaving everybody in the Maria rubble, and I'm heading out. But we left 2017, 2018. And governor did ask me in the January, he called me and said, what are you doing? What are your plans? And I said, I'm going back. And he said, going back. I said, yes, I just have, when this contract is over, when this project is over, I'm heading back to Dominica. And, because I don't know what it is, but I just feel that I need to go back. Up to I don't really know what I came back for, but anyway, there was this thing said.
I think you did what you came back for.
And said, didn't want to come back. And he says, Mommy, why don't we stay in St. Kitts until I finish high school? And I said, no, Nephi, high school is another how many years? You're in grade 3, we have 3 more years to primary school, another 5 years. That's 8 years, no, Nephi, that's a little much. And so we came back. And even when we came back, Nathan kept telling people we're only here for 8 weeks. And I was like, yeah, he said 8 weeks, she's come to fix up the house and then we're going back. And then at some point he comes to me and he says, Mommy, okay, if you don't want to go back, that's fine, because I've settled back with my friends, or I sent him back to school. But even I never was here for 8 weeks, I came back. And so when this thing came through, one of the first things that came through when I got the call that I was the selected candidate, I said, boy, look at how Nathan's words are coming back to pass.
He manifested that.
Nathan will, in fact, because it's a 5-year contract, Nathan is entering first from now. It will take us from Nathan's first form to 5.
Wow.
And manifested itself. So sometimes what we speak out,
words are very powerful. Like when I tell people, when people say, oh, it was so hard to get parking, not for jail. When I leave my home, I start speaking out and I start saying, I want a parking spot next to that place. And let me tell you, every time without fail, yesterday I was like, I want a parking spot next to Fresh Market, and I'm coming down and I seen transport on both sides of the road. I said, checking, boy, and I was doubting myself for a split second, and I said, no, I need a parking spot. If I have to make the round again, I don't mind making the round again, but I need a parking spot right outside of Fresh Market. And as I reach right about the 2 vehicles to go on the bayfront to go around, a person just decided to slide in. Oh, I just put up my hands and I reverse. And when you doubt yourself on the inkling, so many little things, you manifest.
I say that to people all the time. I say that to Nathan all the time. The words, and that's why he has in his room. I have this saying, about our words, and our words is manifest. Words have life. And what you speak, and that's why you have to be careful what we speak for ourselves. Because sometimes we are the ones who put curses on ourselves by the things we say. We foolish, I stupid, I broke, I broke.
So broke.
I didn't say those words at all. My friends I can have zero money. I cannot.
My mother used to say, I'm low on funds at the moment.
At the moment, yes, that's it. That's it. Because the truth is, you are not broke. Because while you may not have cash, you have other assets.
What she would say was that every time you say you're broke, you're breaking yourself.
But it is true. And then the money disappears from you, And so I have a friend who every time she gets a little money, she blesses it, And I swear that is a good practice, because the kind of things that girl does with little money, it's amazing. I tell her that money never finishes in that purse, And so it is. We have to be mindful of what it is we say. But I always say, we just have to claim for ourselves what it is. And if you claim it, believe it. Don't claim it and doubt. Believe
it, and it's yours.
Then it manifests itself. The road may be a little difficult, and sometimes people think it's a smooth life, a smooth sailing. I tell people I have to give you all of my stories, you'll be crying. It's not that, but even amidst, and I think that is one of my strengths and my gifts. No matter what is happening in my life, no matter how good things are going, how bad things are, how terrible it is, because there have been some good years, bad years, and downright horrible years. It doesn't matter. I can still always find something to be joyful about. I can still find something to feed my spirit. And so I go out, I find a rose, I find something in my garden. Like Nathan tells you, gives you a joke, you know. Yes, they exasperate you, you know, these children. Sometimes you just want to just say, ah. But at the end of the day, they also bring so much joy too. And so you have to find something in your spirit. And don't just be so angry at life and angry at things and angry at people. Let go. Some things you just have to let it go. It doesn't mean you're foolish or silly, but you know, why carry all that extra baggage? You know, there's a song, and I use it often when I do training too. Um, um, People get ready, and I like the Aretha Franklin version. There's a train on board. You don't need them baggage. Just get on board. You know, all you need is faith and is love. You know, leave all that stuff. You know, and sometimes we carry so much of our past behind with us. We drag it along, and in dragging it along, what it does, it weighs us down. Everybody has made a mistake. Don't let anybody fool you. Every person has made a mistake. It may not be your mistake. It may not be as grave as yours, but whatever it is, don't let your mistakes deny you of your future.
Amen.
Don't. Forgive yourself. Forgive others.
You see, I tell you, like we could not give her half an hour. Like we've been going for 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 5 minutes. My longest show ever.
Oh my God.
Dr. Henry, I am so grateful to have you on the show. Thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you for agreeing. Thank you for your time. I truly appreciate you. Thank you for all the gems. Some might call it gems, some might call it pearls, some might call it diamonds. Thank you for all the knowledge that you put on us. Thank you for, for all what you said to us. Guys, I want to encourage you. If you have any questions that you were thinking of asking and you didn't get an answer, you probably want to shoot her a line. She's one thing with her, she'll respond back. She'll respond back to you. So you just send her. I put her Facebook up earlier on. Just send her a message, send her team a message, and they'll get back to you. I don't know if she'll have the time to come back underneath this live and answer your questions, but if she can, she will. If not, reach out and she'll definitely try and bless you with more gems. Dr. Henry, thank you again. And oh my God, I am so happy and so excited for you. And I want to wish you all the best in your on your journey. And hopefully one of these days when I'm in St. Kitts, I'll hail you. If not, we'll see. So you never know. I'll pass.
You'll pass at CBJ. You know,
you never know. You never know, right? It's funny. Yeah. I just finished a project with like a major like financial company. And even when we were talking, me and the other person in it, which we'll talk off, me and the other person in it, I said, you're a girl that is in ECCD now. Now he goes, yes, my girl, me and he first not know that. You know what I'm talking about? Because I know that. I was like, yes. Congratulations again. And thanks again for blessing us with your presence. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jael. If I could just say thank you again, because you have always brought me, I think, on every show that you have somewhere along the way over the years I've been on your platform. But I also just want to thank you and all of the listeners. And I like to give the blessings of numbers, and I just want to pass the blessings of numbers to you and to all those listening to the show. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you. May the Lord uncover his face to you and grant you his peace. And may he grant you his wisdom and his gift of discernment as you travel your life's journey. Thank you so much for having me. It was indeed a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to cry, guys. Woo, emotional. I'm a little emotional today. Don't mind me. Woo. This was amazing. Amazing. If you guys caught the entire show, and remember, you can share it with someone. Tag someone, tag a friend, share it. It's available on Facebook. It's available on YouTube. It's available anywhere. And it will be also available on podcasts. That is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It will be available in a couple of hours. Thanks to all those of you who tuned in, all those of you who stayed throughout the show. Thanks to Dr. Henry for coming here and really, she was blessing us with her story. And thank you very much for her coming on and really sharing with us today. And I want to say thanks again to all those of you tuning in. Next week, we'll not have a faculty show because next week I'll be hosting the Caribbean Charities Foundation, the Caribbean Canadian Charities Foundation's virtual carnival event. So that's for funded by the government of Canada. So I will be hosting that. It will also be included on my platform. So those of you who follow me, you could also get to follow along with the show next week, Saturday. Those of you who follow me on all my social media platforms. Thanks again for the support, and thank you for choosing to be here with us this evening. You could have chosen to be anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here. And for that, I am so grateful to you. Thanks, guys, and thanks for all those of you who commented. Love you guys. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.